Where do I even start? So much to cover, so much to talk about, so many thoughts that diverge into other thoughts and that land squarely on other thoughts. Cyberpunk 2077. What a game. Like, first, I'll start off with my experience with it, which was largely positive. Now, I played it on PC, and I also didn't play it at launch because I saw the controversy swirling around it, and I'm not the type of person to just listen to someone blindly and just follow their opinion. It doesn't even matter who that person is. It could be a close friend, it could be a family member, it could be a coworker, it could be somebody I trust dearly. It does not matter. I like to try things for myself. And to be honest with you, I really wish that was still a common trait nowadays. I feel like with I feel like with with social media and the fact that we can all circulate news and events much quicker than we used to. I feel like it's more prevalent now than ever. And what I mean what's more prevalent is the fact that people just they see something, they see people crowding around something, and most of them say they don't like it, they're not going to give it a shot. That's what I'm saying. Like, of course, that's always been a trait in human nature, even before the internet, right? Like, if something had a bad reputation, people usually stay away from it. That still applies today. So I understand. I just feel like it's on hyperdrive now because of social media. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves because I see that as a weakness, right? Anybody who has like a tribal mindset, someone who doesn't think for themselves and just waits on the next man to do a move, to make a move, and then just follow right after him. That can be upsetting. Helpful, obviously, because it got us to where we're at as a human species, right? Like, we travel the roads that are most traveled. So therefore we are where we are. What the hell does this have to do with cyberpunk? The fact that, in my opinion, there was a lot of well-deserved jabs, hits, disses that Cyberpunk got. And then there was a lot of them that Cyberpunk shouldn't have gotten. Everybody has a reason why they didn't play it or why they were upset at the glitches and the fact that it didn't perform right. And I understand. I understand completely. But I do feel like, in my opinion, the main reason why the most fucked up thing I think that CD Projekt Red did, in my opinion, would be the fact that they released a game in that state on last gen consoles. Anybody who had an Xbox and I can't, man, I gotta really, these Xbox names, they confuse me. I know the Series S and the Series X are the newest ones. Maybe the Xbox One. I get them a little confused. I've always been a PlayStation kid, and now I'm strictly PC. But for since I was a kid, I've always been a console gamer, and I've had every PlayStation from the one to the five. So I'm not too familiar with Xbox names, but I will say that the Xbox that came out around at the same time the PS4 came out. I'm assuming it's the maybe the one, or I don't know. So that's my biggest gripe with what CD Projekt Red did, as well as its subsidies and entities, whoever they all, it was just a joint effort into releasing this massive game. But my biggest complaint, to put it in a nutshell, is that they knew that the games did not run well on old hardware and they still released it. Now, if I had to speculate, right, I would say that ultimately it comes down to money, just like everything else in life does, right? Nothing is sacred today in this world, right? Death isn't sacred. You got to pay for that. Life isn't sacred. You got to pay for that. Bills, water, anything that you need, all the essentials, you got to pay for that. There's nothing, everything has a dollar tag to it, everything has a price tag. Anyways, if I had to guess why they still release Cyberpunk 2077 in a shitty state for old consoles, and even for new consoles like the PS5, the next gen consoles, and also the Xbox Series X, as well as PC. From what I hear, PC runs the best, and I can attest to that. I never played it on consoles or seen anyone else play it on consoles besides like YouTube. But I finished the game on PC, and I rarely ran into any game breaking bugs. There were bugs for sure. but most of the game, I would say like 80, 85% of the game was smooth sailing for me. That's my biggest gripe with Cyberpunk 2077. They released it knowing full on well that it ran like shit on old consoles. Why did they do it? Did they do it because they had an obligation towards their investors? Did they do it because they genuinely didn't know? Right? I read something. I remember not so long ago. That's why I remember, because it was like 10 minutes ago. But I read something on the around the lines that the excuse as to why they released Cyberpunk 2077 on older consoles, knowing that it didn't run well, was because they overestimated it. They believed that the game could run. They believed that they dulled some things down and turned down some graphical settings and did some, programming and magic, that they would be able to at least have a decent running 2077, and that's not the case. So you get to decide, right? What do you think? Do you think that they released this game purely to just maximize their profits, or do you think that they released this game and unknowingly they didn't know that it was going to run that bad? They overestimated it. If I had to pick one, to be perfectly honest, I think they did it for the money. I think that they wanted this game to be as huge as possible, and in their mind, you know what, this is another thing that I hate, and I'll get to in a second. They probably, I don't know for sure, but they probably were thinking something along the lines of, oh well, we'll just release updates. We'll just really, which I hate that approach. Just, hey man, just release a semi finished game and then just add updates and fully finish it. It's like, what, dude? You know, that's almost annoying as like when people. This happens too much to be a trend. Let me trail off for a second. Obviously, that's going to be a recurring thing of mine. Sorry, I'm going to just take you to this giant spider web of all my thoughts at once. One of the recurring themes right now that are very common in gaming is canceling. Sorry, not canceling a game, delaying a game, saying a game is going to come out on said date, and then almost always pushing it forward. Oh, the game's going to come out September 29th, 2022. That was just a random date. Then when that day gets near, oh, sorry, we'll have to release it next year. And it's almost like they do that for marketing purposes, right? To like generate hype, almost to keep stringing you along and have you more invested. I don't know. It happens way too often for me to deem it as a coincidence, right? Maybe maybe it is. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a coder. I'm not into publishing games or developing games. So maybe that world is that complex that they genuinely think they're going to push out a game at a certain time, but they can't because there's so many issues. And I can only imagine if they're dealing with coding and programming, right? Like fucking numbers and values. And I took some coding classes for like Python, and I'd never been so confused in my life. I finished the class, but I was like, I'm not doing this. This is what, like, I could not have get it. I didn't get it. Also, I was smoking a lot of weed while coding, which I actually didn't want to help because A, it made me want to do something else, and then B, I don't remember anything. Don't smoke weed and program unless you already know how to program. In that case, that shit probably just helps you. But while you're learning, don't do that. That was a dumb move on my behalf. Maybe programming and video game development is way more complex than what the average person like me can see, and shit like this does happen all the time. They really think that they're going to push it out on a certain date. They really genuinely believe that, and then something always goes wrong. I don't know. It's hard to give people the benefit of the doubt. A lot of that has to do with my character specifically as a person. I'm a very cynical guy. You know what I mean? I don't. How does the phrase go? I may be butchering this, but like taking things for face value. I believe that means like you take things for what they are. Whatever. Probably doesn't even mean that. What I'm saying is that I'm a very cynical guy. I'm not gonna say doubtful, but I'm more of like you. You need to prove it to me that you're honest. You need to. I don't just believe you're honest by default. I just go, okay. Basically, everyone's a bullshitter until proven innocent. In my world, is that a healthy way of going about through life? I can't even tell you. Maybe it's a protection thing. Maybe it's I do it to so I won't get duped, so I don't waste my time on someone who's obviously trying to con me for something. I don't know, man. I have no idea. But I always tend to gravitate towards the cynical side, especially when it comes to corporations and, like, in this case, big video game publishers and companies like, CD Projekt Red. Maybe they do this on purpose. Maybe it is a weird marketing strategy. I don't know. I can't explain to you. But I forgot the original web this was attached to. Um, can you believe that they genuinely overestimated their reach with Cyberpunk 2077, or they just wanted to maximize profits and make money? Who knows? You know. But I do know this. I do know that I enjoyed the game, and it it blew my mind because I ended up getting it on sale just a few months later, right? And by a few months, maybe like two, three, I believe. I got it. Man, I want to say one of these websites you probably shouldn't be getting games in. I don't want to say the website because I use it often, but it's one of these websites where it's not illegal. It's that weird gray area where people sell you keys. And I saw that even though Steam had it on sale for like $40 or something like that at the time, I remember going like I could probably get this for cheaper because people are just bashing on this game. So I was right. I ended up going to this one specific site that I go to and bought it legally, by the way. Didn't download it illegally. FBI. I bought it for like $30. I played it and I remember really liking it. I don't want to say loving it because that's too strong of a word. Like, but it was close to it. I like if I was to rate it from a 1 to a 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, I would say a 8. A solid 8.5 even, with the potential to be a 9 or even higher, right? But at that time when I played it, it was before these big updates that, came out recently. I played it First time I played it and finished it, the only time I played it and finished it was last summer. So that's like summer of 2021. And I had a ball with it. I mean, this is one of the first games in a very long time, in many years, where I stood up to like 5, 6 in the morning. I started playing at like maybe 11, 11:30 at night, almost midnight. And I stood playing till like 5, 6 in the morning. I was almost finishing though, because I was just like, I got to like the end where you can make different decisions with Rogue. She can be, spoiler alert if you haven't played it yet. She can die, but also she cannot die. If I'm not mistaken, somebody's dying, man. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. Somebody's dying, and it all depends on what you do. That mission was awesome, man. By the way, hopefully, if you do play the game and you just don't listen to everyone else, you'll know what I'm talking about. I see that there is a resurgence now, which I'm happy about. And by resurgence, I mean like so many people. Like my major gripe with it was the fact that they knew it was not fully baked. It was not a fully finished game, and they released it on last gen consoles, and they were crashing. And then I was like, "That's fucked up. You guys knew it wasn't gonna work. You made people pay full price for this shit, and then now you got yourself some controversy." I feel like that part of the whole controversy with Cyberpunk 2077 was worth it. There are some other things that people say that they don't like about Cyberpunk 2077, and I don't agree with that. There's they're just some of them are baseless accusations. Some of them are genuine, but I would say that a lot of the big reason why a large chunk of gamers did not play Cyberpunk 2077 was because of other people saying it sucked. So it's like I was saying earlier, it's a natural human trait. It is a common human trait for something to have a bad reputation and then people not give it a wide berth because they don't want to even touch it because their friend Mikey said, "Hey, bro, don't play that game. Don't go there. Don't watch this. Don't listen to this because it sucks." And you go, "Okay, Mikey said it, so it must suck. I'm just gonna, guess, just listen to Mikey forever." That happened. I feel like that happened a lot with Cyberpunk 2077. Like I have friends. How many times have I said Cyberpunk 2077 so far? Like 90 times. I feel like that's all I hear when I'm talking right now. So many friends, mostly coworkers, some friends have not given Cyberpunk a chance because of the bad reputation. They're like, nah, nah, I heard it was whack. I heard it was whack. And listen, let me tell you this. All of my friends and coworkers that have finally given it a chance. So let's say maybe 5 to 7 friends that I know or coworkers that I know all spoke to me about how they gave Cyberpunk 2077 the cold shoulder. Excuse me. They didn't play it because they heard it was a terrible game. Listen, all of them who said that and finally gave it the chance, all of them loved it. All of them liked it. And I was just like, wow, that's it's not even like one or two. They all played it, gave it a proper chance. They turned off the voices of the internet and they gave it a proper chance and they all loved it. And I was like, "See, I told you, bro. I told you." Like when I was playing it last summer, I remember thinking many times, man, many times through, because I finished almost all of the, I finished all of these side quests except for the fighting ones, where you have to fist fight dudes in fucking basketball courts. And it's so, at that time, it was so unbalanced, man. Like, you would literally have to hit this dude like 50 times, possibly more. And he can hit you once or twice, and that's it. So you can be beating him after like they're like very unrealistic last like the time frame of a fight is not that long, but these fights are like 10 minutes and then it's like Mike Tyson's and Punch Out. Like if you've ever played, the Nintendo version, the original Mike Tyson's Punch Out, Mike Tyson can knock you out with a punch or two. So you have to be on your A game. You have to play a perfect game. That's how it is in Cyberpunk with these. I remember fighting this one Mexican dude who had like a pregnant wife in this basketball court. And for the life of me, I was like, I was like end game. Like I was super leveled up, and I still couldn't beat this motherfucker. I'm like, what's going on? I'm just gonna go hit your wife. No, I didn't do that. Probably would. Can you do that? That didn't even occur to me. Can you shoot his wife? That would be like real open world right there. And slightly psychotic. I I hated that. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that I finished like the vast majority of side quests. There were probably maybe 2 or 3 left before I finally stopped playing the game, and I think all 3 of them were the fighting ones. I think there was maybe a racing one. If no, I even finished the racing ones too, which I'm not a fan of racing missions. I remember in The Witcher, speaking of CD Projekt Red, like The Witcher 3 was the same thing. Like I went to town on that game. I went to town on the DLCs, and the only missions I left in the end before I ended up turning the game off were the racing missions with like horses. Like you have to like run. I was like, fuck those missions, dude. I'm not. But whatever. I can see how some other people find them fun, man. I'm not slamming them. I'm just they're not fun to me at all. Anyways, what I'm trying to say by saying to you, by telling you that I finished all these cycles is this that I put in some work in this game. I didn't play it for 2, 3 hours and then went on Steam and then, oh, this game sucks. I don't like the mechanic. It's like, dude, you played it for 3 hours. Which, by the way, have you ever seen like the other day? I was on Steam and I seen a guy play a game for close to 1,000. No, I'm sorry, that's exaggerating. Although I have seen people play games for like about 1,000 hours. This guy, I think he played it for a couple of hours short of 700 hours, and it was Starbound by Chucklefish, which is an awesome fucking game, which I'm thinking about revisiting soon because I haven't gave it a proper chance. I never finished it. Hero after playing the game for almost 700 hours, he wrote something along the lines of like, after playing this game for almost 700 hours, I cannot recommend it. What? Bro, like you played this game more times than like some people have been alive on this earth. As sad as that is. But you've played this game for a ridiculous amount of hours and then you finally write a review and you write, I can't recommend this game. Bro, listen, you've played this game for 700 hours. I think at this point doesn't matter what you say. You are recommending this game. Your actions tell me you are recommending this game. There's no way someone can play something for 700 hours and hate it every hour. Can you imagine what kind of psycho, like 700 hours of you sitting there looking at a screen going, I hate this for 700 hours. So, anyways, that goes to show you that you really shouldn't just you should take everybody's opinion with a grain of salt. You shouldn't just blindly listen to anyone. My friends played Cyberpunk. They loved it. I loved it. And I remember thinking many times in my head, like, it's a shame that more people, especially like the younger generation, by younger, I mean like the 21, 22 year olds and the millennials, which I'm a part of, but I hate being a part of the millennial group, man. I'm like I call myself a fringe millennial because I'm like at the tail end of the age range. So I just made the cut and I'm mad about that because the average millennial drives me nuts, man. They played the game, they loved it, and I'm happy to see that a young millennial actually loved the game. They were like, "Oh man, this game is deep." Is there are some things. One of my coworker friends said something that I also was thinking about while I was playing the game was there was a lot of wasted potential, and I was like, I get that. There are some buildings, there are some mechanics in the games like what do you call the flying ambulance guys, man, it's like a trauma squad that come when someone gets injured and they like hover over them and they're like space EMTs or like futuristic EMTs. Like I feel like that system should have been a little more fleshed out. And also some buildings in some areas of the world seem to be kind of dead, kind of empty. And you had all these cool buildings and architecture. And I'm like, wow, man, you could have, just made some buildings where you can just go in, even if you necessarily don't do anything that can, hinder or help your gameplay. At least have some of these buildings occupied, like have people in the lobbies and people coming out of elevators, like just liven it up a little bit. Me and him, sorry, I remember thinking that a lot. I remember just thinking it's a shame more people aren't going to play this game, and I'm like, they should really give it a chance. So fast forward a year later, one of my good friends, he is playing it now as we speak, and he's loving it. He's like, oh man, I'm trying to level up my character. He's like, this and that. I didn't know you can adjust. There was a dick slider. You can adjust a small dick and a big dick, and you can have a medium dick. And I'm like, yeah, I remember I took a picture of that and I tried to put it on Instagram, and then like instantly banned it. They instantly took it down. And I was like, wow, that's not even like a real dick. Went to see the next pick. No, excuse me. I don't know. I love the fact that more people are playing it now. And the reason I bring my friend up is because he's way more cynical than I am. He also gets in his routines where he's the type of person that he feels comfort in playing and watching and listening to the things that he already has watched, listened, and played to. Like he would watch a movie 100 times because I guess it makes him feel good knowing that everything is predictable. That's what I'm assuming. I'm not a psychologist, obviously. Um, I'm not that guy. Me and him are different and very, very different in that regard. I'm the type of person that it's rare for me to go back and rewatch a movie, replay a game. Once I finish a game, I'm always moving forward. I'm always because there's always something new out there. Has been my backlog of video game has been like halted, clogged, whatever word you want to use, for years. Like I bought games like 7 years ago that I still haven't played, and I that's one thing that I've been doing good with recently. I have been more conscious on buying new games. I really try my best to finish a game before I end up buying a new one or whatever. So there was something here that I saw that was interesting. Or was it? Well, besides that, it used to be a board game, which that's something I never knew. I remember reading about this. I'm reading about it now. I'm actually on Wikipedia just looking. But I remember I read all about it. I read this same Wikipedia page probably last year too, just to see what the controversy was about and how the cyberpunk came to be. Which, by the way, reminds me of a older game called Shadowrun, which I loved. I actually have a tattoo of the logo, and the first one I ever played was for Sega. It was Sega Genesis, and it was a Shadowrun. You can like hack into the Matrix, and it was an open world game, and they had cyber decks, and to me that for me that was the original Cyberpunk. Like that, I remember just as a kid being blown away because it was one of my first open world games. If I'm not mistaken, my very first open world game was Zelda, the original gold tape Nintendo Entertainment System Zelda. So that I think that's what introduced me to, oh, games can be more than just a a, a character scrolling from left to right, jumping on things and collecting high points and stuff like that. Games can be explorative. They can be deep, long games where you can just you're blown away at how far you can go on the map and the cool things that you discover. Shadowrun for the Sega Genesis was originally that game. Like, I already felt that sense of adventure with Zelda, but it really left an effect on me when I played Shadowrun for Sega because it was almost the same thing. It was a futuristic Zelda in many ways. But the cool things you can do, the random events, the fact that you have to do these little things called shadow runs from these Mr. Johnsons for money and stuff. I was like, that's such a cool concept, man. Like, I really wish that they would continue this franchise. And they did. I believe they came out with a 360 version, Xbox 360 version, which was, why did that happen? And then just recently, Harebrained Schemes, the video game publishers or developers or whatever. I think they got bought out by Paradox, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Last time I read, they had the rights to Shadowrun, and they came out with some killer like a trilogy: Shadowrun Return, Shadowrun Hong Kong, and oh, they were good. They were great. I advise you to play those, and I think they might be working on another one. Hallelujah. To me, that was the original um, Cyberpunk, and to this is to me this is I don't know. Cyberpunk, sorry, Shadowrun for the Sega felt special because most games were arcadey. You had your Sonics. You had everybody wanted a mascot at the time of the Sega Genesis era, right? You had Bubsy. Remember Bubsy? Everyone remembers Bubsy. You shouldn't remember Bubsy. Just fucking Men in Black yourself. There was a lot of mascots, a lot of companies trying to, get in on that Mario pie, that Sonic the Hedgehog pie. That they wanted their own mascot, and to have something like Shadowrun where it wasn't following those rules. It was just a serious game for like, young adults, teens and it was dope to see that. And I didn't get that vibe so much with Cyberpunk 2077 because sadly most games nowadays they kind of follow that trend. It's like the open world trend where it's like the first person shooter and you know there some can be copy and paste some games. I sort of kind of got that feeling originally with Cyberpunk, but then it started to have its own legs, started to grow its own legs as time went on. I was okay, this is more than just uh, a copy and paste first person shooter explorer game. It's actually a really good ambitious game, and I think they nailed it for the most part. Alongside, sorry, besides the controversy that surrounded it, which I believe, in my opinion, a lot of it was not called for. Like I said, I told you before, like my biggest thing was just like you shouldn't release a game that was not fully finished. Like you especially on older consoles, and it didn't run well. Not only fully finished, but it didn't function well. That's my biggest problem with it. But Keanu Reeves, he obviously is a character. He plays a character here called Johnny Silverhand, which I'm not a big fan of celebrities appearing in video games. I feel like they to me they break the immersion, right? Because when you play video games, they're not real, right? Like you know that. Except for people who play like Madden and shit like that. Like, which to me was always weird because it's like, hey, I'm playing a game digitally on football. I was like, dude, you can go do that outside. You can go and play football outside right now if you wanted to. I get it. Some people are injured and they can't physically do anything, and then some people just are too shy or whatever the case may be. I understand that not everyone can just get up and play football, but it is possible, right? However, if you play Skyrim, it is not possible to go out there and slay a dragon. That can't happen and never will. But I play video games for me. I play video games for, in my opinion, because I want to play some fantastical shit, some shit that I know will never happen. You can play football. So, anyways, what I'm saying is usually when I'm playing a video game, I I'm looking at all the characters, I'm getting immersed into the world. When I see a familiar face that I know, like the face of Keanu Reeves, or just recently I've been playing Dying Light and I think Rosario Dawson is there. If that's not Rosario Dawson, I haven't checked yet. like on Wikipedia or online, if that's her. But if that's not Rosario Dawson, goddamn, that looks and talks exactly like Rosario Dawson, which is just hot. Like I've always had a thing for her for years. Like I think ever since like Clerks. Anyways, yeah. So when I see that, it actually breaks my immersion because I'm like, oh, that's a real life person in a quote unquote fake game. Like so I don't know what they're maybe they're doing it for oh, I'm pretty sure they're doing it for not only publicity purposes but also for marketing purposes, right? Because you can make a bunch of money, obviously. Commercials have been doing it for the longest, right? You take a born ass product like a pair of socks. What do? How can you market this pair of socks? And you can buy a pair of socks anywhere, right? Well, fucking put Michael Jordan selling socks, which I think he did with like Hanes and stuff like that at one point. Oh, sure. Now I'm gonna go buy a pair of socks because Jordan wears a pair of socks. So I think that same concept applies to why they have celebrities like Keanu Reeves in video games. So I will say this, right? That how long we've been going here? Man, 30 minutes. Jesus, I talk too much. I will say that his appearance here, his role as Johnny Silverhand, it's not intrusive at all. He actually plays it very well. It's not over the top. He plays a very cool character. He plays Keanu Reeves basically like he plays Keanu Reeves in every movie. I hate to say it. I like Keanu Reeves. I do, but he's always playing Keanu Reeves. Like, you know what I mean? Like his range, no disrespect, but his range is not the highest. It's not the low. He was always playing that Keanu range. He's got his own little range. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what to expect if you see him in a movie. You're not going to see something completely uncharacteristic. Like you're not gonna see him play, a role where you're just like, oh, I didn't even know that was him. That's how good he was playing. You're gonna know that's Keanu Reeves as he's in a movie. Same thing here. Luckily, it's not intrusive. It's not like where you're like, oh, it doesn't break too much immersion. Although that's Keanu Reeves with a fucking cybernetic arm. You know that's him. But I would say that it's very low key, and it doesn't get in the way too much. And his character is very cool, very interesting. I like the whole concept of the whole, you can just swap someone's whole memory and like soul into some sort of a hard drive or SSD, and you can just inject into someone else, and that can eventually become that person, just like a parasite just taking over a new host. That's pretty cool. Overall, this is a game that I would highly recommend. I really do. I feel like First of all, I feel like I didn't hit all of my points because there's so much to talk about here, man. Like I can go on forever, but I don't want to keep making your ears bleed with my voice. But I will say that overall, this is a game that I would recommend. Especially if it's on sale. I feel like that's something that I do hear a lot from like YouTubers and other people, friends. They always go like, "Get it on sale." You can't. And I hate to say it, but this is a game that I feel like you should get on sale. Not only because it's been out for a while already. So if you buy it for full price, that's not even fair. Unless you're Nintendo, they have no problem with that. They'll keep a game full price for fucking years. Perplexing. Anyways, buy it if it's on sale for sure. You know what I mean? But full price is kind of a tough sale. I think you're going to enjoy it. If you like first person, you like exploration games, you like games like, GTA-ish, freedom of choice, you just let you run loose and wild inside of a sandbox, a futuristic one where you can steal cars and do corporate missions and be the good guy, be the bad guy, you're going to really enjoy this game for sure. With that said, I feel like I haven't even touched the tip of what I want to talk about. There's so much I want to say about this game. Maybe I'll do a part two of this in the future, Like I heard that there's going to be I would love to actually because I enjoyed this game and there's so much. I'm looking right now just at the Wikipedia and I'm just like damn, I can easily talk like for another hour and a half about what's going on here. There's going to be uh a DLC, some sort of an added content coming in 2023 called Jesus, what is it called? Liberty something? Let me look this up for a quick second. It's bothering me now. Phantom Liberty. It says Phantom Liberty is set to release in 2023. I think they're gonna knock it out the park. You heard it here first. Actually, didn't hear it. You didn't hear it. You did not hear it. I can't speak. I forgot English. Bye. No. you heard it here. Not first, but you heard it here. I genuinely believe that that's going to be a great DLC. I think they're going to knock it out the park, especially with all of the drama, and all of the controversy that swirled around this game. I think that they're going to. They have no choice. They have no choice but to sit there and buckle down and really iron out and perfect all of the mechanics. And they don't want to go through this again. You know what I mean? They got, this was the first game. This is another thing that I was trying not to talk about. Kind of forgot about, honestly. But I was trying not to talk about because it's a whole nother subject, but I will throw it in quickly. This is the first video game, or at least the first PlayStation game that got delisted, that I know of, that got delisted, where they literally just removed it from the game store for a while because it wasn't working well. And I was like, wow, that's wild. I've never seen a game just straight up be removed, delisted. So I was like, wow, that goes to show you how horrible the press was for this for a while. I heard that the stock market for the sorry, not the stock market. I heard that its shares, like, it like plummeted. Like, it wasn't doing well for a while. And in my opinion, a lot of that was well deserved, but not all of it. Not all of it. There's some people who just bash this game, and what's even worse than someone who bashes something and doesn't even try it, right? How many videos were made from people saying this game sucked, you shouldn't play this game, CD Projekt Red, they're crooks, this and that, but they never even played the game. So you got to play the game, dude. At least, why, for you to make a honest, genuine opinion on it. Anyways, maybe when this new DLC comes out, I'll come back and you know destroy your eardrums about it. With that said, I'm out of here. It's Saturday right now. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend. If you're listening to this today, if not, whatever day it is, be safe. And I'll see you soon. Talk to you soon. Because I can't. You get it.